Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy. We'll apologize right off front. This video is going to be partially reversed and partially straightforward. I'm still making these with my phone, and it's just easier for me to control it where I can pause it without having to splice a bunch of short videos together. Um, some of you that's watched me for a while may have realized on my last video on power supplies, I had actually done a video on power supplies about a year earlier. Hope I covered that very well between two videos. Hey, I'm Radio Cat. But boomer alert, I forgot. Like I said, I don't do these off a script, and so if anybody got any questions on power supplies, feel free to shoot me an email or a comment, and I'll try my best to answer it. We're going to cover two subjects today. W5DLX Cody come into some batteries out of a UPS. And these are 12 volt, 18 amp hour batteries come out of a uninterruptible power supply system. So I charged them both yesterday about 3 hours at 2 amps, and I'm going to give one to Tim. He got one for me and one for Tim, KI5TKY. And I decided to hook one up to my rig here. Now, normally I don't operate off battery. Cody camps a lot. He uses a Baino battery. Jeff runs back to his camp with his radio a lot. He's got a Baino battery. But the only other time I've ever operated HF off or any rig off of emergency power was during the ice storm of 2000. And I run a 2 meter mobile on low power for a couple of weeks, doing some relay work for the fire department. But I've never run HF on a battery. Always worked from the house. So we're going to try that today. I've got it hooked up with a multimeter in line and do a little testing with that. Then we're going to talk about QSL cards. Now, before I flip this around where y'all can see my setup, and I'm going to do a little testing where you can see the multimeter fluctuate. I got a kind of a janky setup here. It's a little odd. I'm up for space, and I just had to make this work with what connectors I had for right now. I'm going to get some better connectors, hook this up later. It's a good idea to have a battery backup system if you need to operate without power. I can't. I've always, like I said, operated HF, and I've always operated HF on 100 watts. I've never turned the radio down hardly in my life other than this little minor experimenting. But this one, I turned my 897 down to 10 watts. And just talked to WD5HKV. He's the furthest one away from me in our roundtable group. And normally I'm 10 over on him, and I was a solid S9, so I lost maybe an S unit out of the deal, just dropping my power to 10 watts. So I'm going to pause this a second, and we're going to fire the radio up and let you, maybe y'all see the voltmeter. And one thing I've talked about in earlier videos, a good digital multimeter, even an inexpensive digital multimeter, is a good one to have. And all I've done is use some clips and hook my multimeter across my power connections here. The reason I do that, it's showing 13 volts now, but when you transmit, you start drawing on, you see how far the battery drops down. Now, I looked at specs on my 897D, it'll shut down at 11.7 volts. So I got to keep the voltage up above that for it to work. So let's pause it a second and we'll see what we can do here. Okay, this is the battery sitting here on my computer desk, and that's my multimeter. Is showing 13.1 volts. Just fired the radio up. On receive, you see it dropped like 12.9. KB5 MIQ, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, KB5 MIQ. So you notice the voltage drop there. Somebody's trying. CQ call coming in real faint. Maybe I can work 10 here later. But that's just how I've got it rigged up right now for testing. You know, they make Anderson power pole connectors. Will be a good connector to use on that. One thing about this style of battery is lightweight. It's got a seal top, and it'd be real easy to carry in any kind of a kit that you might want to use to carry it out with, operate from the field. It'd be real inexpensive. And any standard battery charger will charge this style battery, unlike the Bienos, which have to have their own charger. Let me flip this back around. Well, that's just a little short clip on checking the battery. I won't leave it sitting here like this. In fact, I'll probably just charge it, use it occasionally, and keep it charged for power outages because I'll hook that thing back up on my power supply. But I am going to run it tonight on our round table just to get an idea about how long it'll last. I'm going to leave my rig set at 10 watts. Seeing a lot of posts here lately about, especially with the world situation being what it is, that a lot of hams are building go boxes, and a lot of guys are more active and mobile, won't do POTA and soda spots, and that's great. I mean, a lot of guys are building them doomsday boxes out of them. So you want to have power. And these newer batteries like this, especially that small of a battery, and if it works, gives you enough power to work for a while, plus you're able to charge it with regular chargers. I know Jeff has got that last video, one of the pictures at the end was a gate opener battery. He got it Tractor Supply. He had used it on his HF rig. So just a good way inexpensive way to have extra power. Plus it's in a smaller compact package, easier to carry. Although I would hate to backpack one of them with a HF rig very far. But you got mobile access to carry it with you. And good to keep right here in the shack. All I had to do was pull my leads out of my power strip and I used some alligator clips just to clip it to the battery for right now. If I decide to do it more permanent, I will get some better connectors. In fact, we was talking about Anderson power poles from Powerworks last night. I'm going to look at some of them next time out in the MTC. I'm going to pause again, flip around. We're going to talk a little bit about another aspect of the hobby that seems to be losing ground a little bit. It's QSL cards. I'll stand by a second. This may not be that good of an add-on video. I'm just going to show you how I got my QSL cards arranged. That first section of QSL cards is what I call island nations, big countries, Japan, England, Australia, etc. Now, if you come over here to this column, this one of a lot of the stations I've always enjoyed working is nothing but island contacts. They're all countries. They all count for country credit. There's 19 of them that I've worked right there, 19 different countries, islands. This section here is my Central and South America section. I'm trying to work every country in Central and South America, and so far I've got 12 of them. This section here, and you see the yellowing on the top of some of them QSL card holders. I've had them since '91. This is other countries I've worked. European countries, Africa, so on and so forth. This starts my states. And any time you see a blue post-it note, that's a state I'm needing to finish out for 50 states. And I think I need 4 or 5 right now. It's just other states. I've got them in number order, starting with 0 to 9, I believe. Yeah. This is the last of it. And there, right there, this one, I like this card. That guy told me he didn't have any cards. He made me one up, confirmed the state. I'm just as proud of it as any other card I've got. Some of these other cards down here are just cards from like Cody, Jeff, friends, stuff like that I've accumulated over the years. You know, let me pause again, flip her around. You know, there's all kinds, we often talk, there's all kinds of aspects of this hobby. And I try to promote them all. I try to promote the hobby any way I can. Hey, ham radio cat, get up here, knothead. But there's one thing that I feel like is kind of dying out, is QSL cards. Now, I realize everybody has got a lot better computers than we had when I started the hobby. A lot of you young people are way better with computers than I ever thought about being, so on and so forth. There's Logbook of the World, QRZ logs, and everything else under the sun that you can use out there. And a lot of guys want to use EQSLs and some don't. And a lot of guys don't QSL. That's fine. Not knocking that. But look at QSL cards like this. is a personal notation that you've made a contact. Now, if you're trying to promote somebody into this hobby and they come in your shack and all they see is a bunch of radios and nothing else, and having worked in electrical repair on DC equipment for years, I've seen people really intimidated at electronics and wiring if they don't know anything about it. And same with radios. In the military, on the fire truck, when I was on the volunteer fire department, and I spent 23 years in the reserve with radios. And one of my older videos, I said there's three types of people when it comes to radios. Good operators, the guy who should never be allowed to own a radio to begin with, and then people you can't get on the radio. But if somebody comes in your shack and all they see is radios, they might not know nothing about them, but they may not want to say nothing about them because they think, well, he thinks I'm stupid. Or if the first thing you pick up, hey, this is my logbook. This shows all my contacts. Well, that's semi-impressive, but the guys look at it, that's just a bunch of stuff you've wrote down. But when they look on the wall and see a bunch of different cards from different countries and different states, that's just a good conversation starter. Maybe help get them into the hobby a little bit. People don't send them like they used to. Man, I used to get them all the time, and I realize now the mail cost has gone up, and with COVID restrictions in a lot of countries, it's still caught up. But if I'm averaging almost 3 cards for every 6 I send out, and I would love, I really like to get the cards. I ain't away, but I've sent, I always try for overseas card, unless they tell me they don't need it. I always try to stick a couple of bucks in there. Stateside cards, I always put a self-addressed stamp return envelope in there. I've got 2 cards out to the state now with self-addressed stamped envelopes I've never got back. Overseas cards, I put a addressed return envelope in there and try to put a couple of bucks or whatever they ask for, if they ask for any. Some guys tell you, no, I don't need the postage. Just send me a return envelope. QRZ is a good way to kind of check QSL cards. If they got an email address, email them if you're questioning about sending them one. And generally, everybody I've emailed, I've got a card back from. Or I've got one guy that said, my card's on my profile. If you want it, print that off. I don't mail cards. That's fine. But just look at cards as a good way to personalize your contact. And when you bring somebody in the shack, good conversation starter to maybe get them interested in it. Well, I will post later on probably another video. Tonight I'm going to run this battery in the round table, see how long it holds up. Y'all remember Main Trading Company in Paris, Texas? Good place for ham radio gear. Farmersville Amateur Radio Club out there in North Texas, North Central, somewhere in Dallas area, is still running their monthly sidewalk sale. I'll post their info. The thumbnail of me and old ham radio cat here will be the last thing you see. Round tables Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Friday nights, 7:30 Central Standard Time. We're on there about 45 minutes to an hour. Usually at 28,450, unless the band's open and if there's a net going there, we'll move up. Appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel. We're at 568. I'm looking at maybe hitting 600 and doing another little giveaway of some kind. I'm looking at another book, trying to find give to a ham radio operator. I appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel. This is KB5MIQ Big Boy 73.